Live from the heart of America, I'm Steve Gruber, your soldier of truth, the tip of the spear against socialists, here ready to fight for you from the foxhole of freedom. Please remember, my friends, remember to think while it's still legal. 3 big things you need to know right now. Number 1, the UAW strike has gone nationwide, with dozens of facilities in some 20 states now idled by the walkout that began 1 week ago. If it's not settled soon, inventory can be impacted, and so will the economy. Number 2, Democrat Senator Goldbar Bob Menendez of New Jersey appears to be in a world of hurt after he was indicted along with his wife on bribery and other serious crimes by a federal grand jury. We'll tell you about that. And number 3, Sliden with Biden. Yeah, Sliden with Biden. That's the headline the Democrats should be looking at today very closely and with a lot of concern. A brand new Washington Post ABC News poll gives former President Donald Trump a commanding 10-point lead over the guy in the White House currently. When you dig into the numbers deeper, it gets far worse for Joe Biden. The reasons are many, and the polling is getting worse for Joe Biden on an almost daily basis. You see, Americans, people like you and me, get it when Joe slurs through a speech or wanders around lost on stage. They can see it, I can see it, you can see it, and we all know he's not in charge of himself. How can he run a country? How can he have the nuclear football? A brand new poll puts Biden's approval 19 points underwater. Just 37% of the people asked now approve of the way he does his job, and I think that number is still fairly high. It's a new low, but still too high. It doesn't look like they have found the bottom yet. Joe Biden will turn 81 in December. He's already the oldest and, more importantly, the weakest president in American history. And the across-the-board failures are not going to be rewarded by voters in 2024. Trust me when I tell you, Democrats, whether they're showing it or not, are in full-blown panic right now because they're caught in a no-win situation. They know Joe Biden's chance of winning re-election gets smaller by the day, but if he pulls out, he becomes a lame duck. If he leaves, that leaves them with Kamala Harris as the standard bearer. Unless you want to allow a wild primary fight between Harris and likely challengers from places like California and Michigan. Like I said, the reasons for Joe Biden's dismal numbers are many. The wide-open border that everyone sees in the news every day now. While the Democrats keep telling us the border is secure, when it absolutely is not. In fact, today, the Democrat mayor of El Paso, Texas, says his city is on the verge of collapse because of this invasion. That doesn't pull anywhere in the country very well. Trust me on that. It seems that on every single metric, America's rejecting Joe Biden. And he's setting all-time low marks in all areas. Here's an example.
Authorities announcing there were more than 232,000 migrant encounters at the southern border in August, the highest monthly total this year. The president says his policies are working.
We put in place policies that process people in a fair and fast way.
But our poll shows only 23% approve of his handling of the situation, another career low.
Career low, 23%. That's not a career low for Joe Biden. It's an all-time low for every president of my lifetime. And they didn't do polling much before that. 23%. I don't know who those folks are that approve of what's happening, but it's probably folks that are also in a coma somewhere. Energy policy has made the cost of filling up your car or truck far more expensive than it was 32 months ago. Which brings me back to Bidenomics. An utter failure. What is stunning about the Washington Post poll is that the paper tried to distance itself from its own polling numbers, writing that the poll is so bad it could be an outlier. I have a news flash for the WAPO staff. The poll is not an outlier. In fact, you should expect to see even worse numbers in the days to come. Joe Biden is a failure from every angle and every metric. And people compare that now to Donald Trump in his term previously. Really, there is no comparison. Here is the ongoing response from every member of the administration. You just don't understand. Everything's great. You just have to wait for the economy to appreciate it, you see. The propaganda machine from the Democrats is working overtime. The problem is it just isn't working on selling Bidenomics to anyone. Listen to this.
What do you say to the 44% of Americans who say they are worse off now than they were before Biden took office?
Well, look, we all know the economic pressure that Americans have felt. When the president took office, the economy was flat on its back. But we're also getting extraordinary results. More than 13 million jobs created. That's more than any presidential term in American history. And yes, it takes a while for people to feel the full benefits of those results, just like it's going to take a while to build all of the infrastructure that we're now underway on with the president's generational infrastructure bill. But he got the bill done after president, Congress after Congress couldn't make it happen. He did. We're getting the results on the economy.
Absolute lie. One after another, absolute lie. The economy was not flat on its back. The economy was recovering dramatically under Donald Trump. Everybody knows it. And what we didn't have was massive spending shoving inflation through the roof that came with Joe Biden's reckless deals, infrastructure, and everything else. Reckless spending. But that kind of flippant response from cabinet members like Pete Buttigieg doesn't go over well. It's the kind of pat on the head that really angers people. Oh, you're fine. You just don't understand. You're fine. The economy's great. I mean, you know what it's like to go shopping for groceries. I do. You do. Compared to what it was like during President Trump's first term as president, people not buying any of this nonsense. You know it's bad when all the Sunday shows are pounding the failures of the economy, one after another, because that really is the anchor around this administration's neck. Listen to this.
When you dive into the big questions around the economy, we know President Biden has been out there trying to make the case. Unemployment is low. He's been talking about how inflation has been easing, but people aren't buying it. You covered some of the reasons why. Gas prices, food prices, grocery prices, and the like. Right now, on the big picture on the economy, 74% of the country, that's about 3/4 of Americans, who say the economy is either not so good or downright poor.
Yeah, not good or downright poor. What is it for you? Not good or downright poor? And all the Sunday shows were focused on the bombing poll numbers. I mean, this is a pretty shocking poll. 37% approval. 23% approve of the way the border's being handled. 30% on the way the economy is being handled. Yep. And the biggest reasons driving the numbers down are all about how expensive everything is. And it really is the common denominator, pushing people away from Joe Biden and back to Donald Trump. And like we've discussed many times, there's nothing people can point to and say, hey, at least he's doing well over here. There is nothing. There is not a saving grace in any of this. There's not one area of concern for Americans where Joe Biden has outperformed Donald Trump. Nothing. Listen.
Nearly as many upset about gas and energy prices after a brutally hot summer. The national average for a gallon of unleaded gasoline this week hitting $3.88 per gallon, according to AAA, the highest level in nearly a year.
We just drove through California yesterday. Gas was $6.39 a gallon.
And that's ridiculous, in my opinion.
People can't afford rent.
People can't afford rent or groceries or gasoline. But you just don't understand. The economy was flat on its back. It was terrible. No, it wasn't. And all of this reckless spending had one very predictable outcome. The fact that we bring in $5 trillion a year and spend $7 trillion a year as a country is a problem. We're going to talk about that going forward. Don't go anywhere. Good to see you. It's the Steve Gruber Show.